Welcome to this lecture on mathematical analysis. Today, we are going to explore a fascinating and highly practical topic known as first-order difference equations. If you have ever wondered how a bank calculates your compound interest year after year, or how a computer processes digital audio sample by sample, you are in the right place. We will build your understanding from the ground up, starting with the basic concepts and moving all the way to solving complex real-world problems. Let us dive in. To begin, let us understand what a difference equation actually is. Imagine you have a savings account. Every year, the bank looks at your current balance, adds interest, and updates your account. To know next year's balance, the bank only needs to know what you have right now, not your entire financial history. This is exactly what a difference equation does. It is a mathematical rule that tells you the next value in a sequence based purely on the current value. We use y sub n for the current state and y sub n plus 1 for the next state. By knowing our starting point, called the initial condition, y sub 0, we can step forward in time. Now that we understand what these equations do, let us look at how they compare to something you might already know: differential equations. A differential equation describes continuous change, like water flowing smoothly out of a tank without any interruption. In contrast, a difference equation describes discrete change, like a digital clock ticking from one second to the next. Because of this difference, their mathematical solutions look distinct. Continuous systems rely on the exponential function e to the power of kt. Discrete systems, however, rely on multiplying by a constant over and over, which gives us solutions involving a constant raised to the power of n. This makes them perfect for things that happen in distinct rounds. This brings us to the simplest type of first-order difference equation, known as the homogeneous case. Conceptually, this means there are no extra flat amounts added or subtracted at each step. The system just grows or shrinks by a constant multiplier. The formula shows that to get the next step, y sub n plus 1, we multiply the current step, y sub n, by a constant a. This implies that to find the value at any future step n, we take our starting value, y sub 0, and multiply it by a raised to the power of n. If the multiplier a is greater than 1, the value grows. If it is less than 1, the value shrinks. Before we move on, let us see this formula in action with a concrete example. Suppose we have a radioactive isotope that decays over time such that only 80% of its mass remains each year. We start with an initial mass of 500 grams and we want to find out how much is left after exactly 3 years. First, we identify our given values. Our initial value, y sub 0, is 500. Our multiplier a is 0.80, representing the 80% that survives. Since nothing is being added from the outside, we use our homogeneous closed form formula. We write down the general formula to set up our calculation. Continuing with our calculation, we substitute our specific numbers into the formula. We replace y sub 0 with 500 and a with 0.8. To find the mass after 3 years, we plug in 3 for n. We must calculate the exponent first. 0.8 raised to the third power is 0.512. This decimal tells us that exactly 51.2% of the original mass will remain. Finally, we multiply 500 by 0.512. This gives us our final answer of 256. Physically, this means exactly 256 grams of the isotope remain after 3 years of continuous decay. Now that we have successfully used this formula, let us understand exactly where it comes from. We are setting out to prove how the step-by-step rule turns into a shortcut formula. We start at step 0 with our initial value y sub 0. To find step 1, we multiply by a. For step 2, we apply the rule again to step 1. Substituting our previous result, we get a times y sub 0, which is a squared times y sub 0. For step 3, We multiply by a once more, giving us a cubed times y sub 0. The mathematical reasoning is clear. Each step adds another power of a. This intuition leads directly to our final proven result for any step n. So, we have proven that our homogeneous formula holds. This brings us to an important question. What happens to our sequence as time goes on forever? We call this stability classification. By simply looking at the absolute value of our constant multiplier a, we can instantly predict the future of the system. If the absolute value of a is strictly less than 1, the system loses energy and decays to 0, meaning it is stable. If it is greater than 1, the system grows infinitely large and explodes. If a is exactly 1, the system stays perfectly constant forever. And if a is a negative number, the system will oscillate, flipping signs at every single step. Let us look at a visual representation of these 4 stability scenarios. On the screen, you see 4 graphs, where the horizontal axis represents time steps n and the vertical axis represents the value y sub n. In the top left, the decay graph shows the point smoothly dropping down towards 0, representing a stable system. In the top right, the diverge graph shows points curving sharply upwards into infinity. In the bottom left, the constant graph is just a flat horizontal line of dots, never changing. Finally, in the bottom right, the oscillate graph shows the points jumping back and forth across the horizontal axis. This diagram perfectly captures how the multiplier dictates the entire future of the system. Now that we understand this simple case, we must recognize that real-world problems are rarely that simple. Often, there is a constant addition or subtraction happening at every step. Think about depositing a fixed amount of money into a bank account every month, on top of the interest you earn. This is called a non-homogeneous difference equation. It takes a new form, where we multiply the current state by a and then add a constant b. This new rule accounts for both the proportional growth from the multiplier and the flat addition from the constant b. It is the exact mathematical translation of earning interest and then making a deposit. To solve these more complex systems without calculating every single step, we use the general closed form formula. Conceptually, this formula splits the problem into 2 parts. The first part, a to the power of n times y sub 0, is exactly what we saw in the homogeneous case. It handles the growth of your initial starting amount. The second part handles the constant additions. Because the repeated additions of b grow with interest over time, they form a geometric series, which collapses into the neat fraction you see here. So b is your constant addition, and the fraction calculates its accumulated future value. Note that if a is exactly 1, we cannot use this formula because we would divide by 0. Let us apply this powerful formula to a real-world banking example. Imagine you open an account with an initial deposit of $1,000. The bank pays 5% interest annually, and you deposit an extra $200 at the end of every year. We want to find the total balance after 2 years. First, we identify our components. Our initial amount y sub 0 is 1000. Our growth multiplier a is 1.05. Our constant addition b is 200. And our time step n is 2. We write down our general closed form formula, which is the perfect tool here because it handles both the interest multiplier and the constant annual deposits. Continuing with our calculation, we substitute all our known values into the formula. We replace a with 1.05, y sub 0 with 1000, b with 200, and n with 2. Next, we simplify the arithmetic. Squaring 1.05 gives 1.1025. In the denominator, subtracting 1 from 1.05 leaves exactly 0.05, which represents the pure interest rate. We then multiply the initial deposit by its growth factor, giving 1102.5. We also perform the subtraction in the numerator. The complex equation is now broken down into much simpler pieces. For our final steps, we divide 0.1025 by 0.05 inside the parentheses, which yields exactly 2.05. This number is the accumulated multiplier for our repeated deposits. Multiplying our $200 deposit by 2.05 gives $410. We now have our two separate components, the grown initial deposit and the accumulated value of the extra deposits. Adding them together gives our final answer of 1512.5 rupees. Physically, this means your account holds your initial money, your pure deposits, and all the compound interest earned on both. Now that we have used the non-homogeneous formula, let us understand where that complex fraction came from by deriving the pattern. We are establishing how the constant b accumulates over time. For step 1, we simply multiply by a and add b. For step 2, we apply the rule to the entirety of step 1. Distributing the a, we get a squared times y sub 0 plus a times b plus the new b. For step 3, we do it again, resulting in a cubed times y sub 0, followed by a trailing sum of b terms multiplied by decreasing powers of a. This trailing sum is a geometric progression. The mathematical reasoning shows that this geometric series is exactly what collapses into the fraction in our general formula. Before we conclude, it is crucial to understand why we study this. First-order difference equations are absolutely essential because the modern world runs on digital, discrete data. While nature might flow continuously, computers process information in distinct steps. Every time a digital audio filter processes a sound wave, it uses these exact equations to calculate the next audio sample. In finance, every mortgage calculator relies on them to model monthly payments over time. In biology, ecologists use them to predict animal populations year by year. Without difference equations, modern digital signal processing and financial forecasting would be completely impossible. Let us summarize the key takeaways from our lecture. First, a difference equation is a mathematical rule that steps forward in time, calculating the next state based purely on the current state. Second, we learned that the long-term stability of the system, whether it decays, explodes, or oscillates, depends entirely on the value of the constant multiplier A. Finally, we saw how closed-form formulas act as a shortcut, allowing us to jump directly to any future point in time without doing tedious step-by-step math. You have now covered the full topic and possess the fundamental tools to analyze any system that moves in discrete jumps. Excellent work!